Hey, am I connected? Can y'all hear me? How are you? I just got done with the podcast a little bit ago. It was great. And I thought I would take a minute just to hop on here and talk to you about passing scores for SHRM certification. So the SHRM exams, SHRM-CP or SHRM-SCP, we're going to talk about what's a passing score and how does that work exactly. So if you are taking your HR certification exams and you have a date booked, let me know in the comment the exam type and when your exam is scheduled, if it is. So let's talk about the exams first. So SHRM offers two different HR certification exams. They have the SHRM-CP and then the SHRM-SCP exam. The CP is the certified professional, and you don't have to have any HR experience to be able to qualify to take the SHRM-CP. The more senior exam is the SHRM-SCP, Senior Certified Professional. And this you need to have a combination of work experience and education in order to qualify for the exam. If you don't know if you qualify or what you qualify for, I would encourage you to take a look at a quiz that I have put together. It's a 9-question quiz, super easy. It goes through what you qualify for SHRM and HRCI and makes 2 recommendations based on this information. And the place to go for that is www.hrcertificationquiz.com. www.hrcertificationquiz.com. Let me back up for a sec. My name is Jess. If you don't know me, I help HR leaders ace their HR certification exams. We have a course called Ace the HR exam. I am a 20+ year HR pro, and I have taught HR certification prep with different groups for years and created my own because there was a need for on-demand digestible content that was affordable and accessible for everyone. And so that's what our program Ace the HR exam is all about. So let's talk about the SHRM exams. So I mentioned there's 2 different exams, the SHRM-SCP and the SHRM-CP, okay? The exam content that you're going to study for is the same. This trips up a lot of people. The content is the same. The depth of the content or the breadth of the questions is different. So the place that you would need to go to be able to have kind of an idea of what is going to be covered is something called the BASC. It's a body of applied skills and knowledge. SHRM puts out a new one every single year, and it kind of lets you know some of the terms or topics and categories that are going to be discussed. It is not all inclusive and completely comprehensive. They don't give you all the terms and the concepts in this document. It's just not the way SHRM works. Our course helps you understand where your knowledge gaps are, and you identify what those are, and then you hone in on those target areas. We use the BASC as a guideline, but we go beyond that because SHRM doesn't give you all the answers in the BASC, so you have to have a very broad knowledge base of content resources. The nice thing about our program is that you can use the learning system to help you study. You can use a number of other books, including one of my favorites, this one here by Dory Willer. And they come out with a new one every single year. I think this is the 2022 one, but there's still good content, good stuff. So you have the 2 different exams. Use the BASC to be able to kind of give you a level set of where you are and what's included on the exams. As far as passing the exam goes into behavioral or HR knowledge categories. And so when you take the exam, whether you pass or fail, you will, at the end of your exam, a couple weeks later, receive a document that lets you know how you did. How did you score? What percentile were you in? But it is very broad content. It might talk about workplace or people competencies, but it doesn't dive under the hood in terms of what is included in workplace and people in those kind of competency areas. Those are the HR knowledge competency. So a passing score is going to be a 200, okay? SHRM uses something called weighted scoring. And basically what that means is that you're not going to know what you missed, what each question is worth, and how the formula came about for you to get your 200. The ACT and the SAT and the GMAT are all similar. They use weighted scoring to be able to do this. You do not have, what you don't have is if there, let's just say for the sake of argument, for those of us who maybe math isn't on our strong suit, that there's 100 questions on the test. There's more than 100 questions, but work with me. You would say, I really want to get a B to pass, right? Or maybe that's the passing score in your geometry class or your spelling class, whatever. So you know that if there's 100 questions on this exam, each one is worth 1 point, and you have to get 80 right to get an 80%, which for you is a B. The SHRM exam and weighted scoring does not work like this, okay? You are not going to know. There is no formula with the number of test questions that you have to get right in order to score a 200. Which is why you answer each question to the best of your ability. You make sure you answer every question and you make your best educated guess. Because my goal in our program is to help set you up for success with a solid knowledge base and a fantastic testing strategy so that you can improve the odds that even when you guess on a question that you're getting it correct. We talk about this in our Ace the HR exam program all the time. The more test questions that you can practice, the better, but the more solid of an exam testing strategy you have, even more important. So 200 is a passing score, okay, for the SHRM-CP and the SHRM-SCP. Content is the same. How you pass the exam is the same. You will not get a score of 210 or 220 or something else. When you pass, the highest score that you can get is 200, okay? If you don't pass, I have seen people get 190s and I have seen people get 180s. That is the score that you will receive where you don't pass the exam. You won't find out what your score is until you get that little email that lets you know how you actually did. And there'll be a downloadable PDF that you can take a look at. It's going to tell you how you break out in those different competencies and subcompetencies. Okay, 200 is the passing exam. Weighted scoring, we don't know the formula to be able to get there, so we do our best with every single question that we have. What happens on exam day? So when you take the exam, whether it's remote or in person, once you submit the second section of your SHRM exam, you're going to have a little survey that you're going to fill out, and then you will find out if you passed or failed. Now, this is called a provisional pass or a provisional fail. So it's not set in stone yet, but it says you have likely passed or you have likely failed the exam. You will receive a provisional pass or provisional fail. I will say in my experience, I have yet to hear of a person who had a provisional pass that they revoked those things. Okay, I'm never going to say never, but I have never heard of this occurring. So when you get your provisional pass, I feel very confident and comfortable that you will actually pass your exam, and you'll find out a few weeks later in that email that kind of details all the things. And it's your official notice that you've passed the exam. When you take the exam and you receive a provisional fail, it just means that it's likely that you didn't pass the exam. You didn't meet that 200 score. It is not over yet. So as those of you are starting to take the exam and seeing these things, you will get a provisional pass or you'll get a provisional fail. But that's not the end of the story. Two of the last 3 testing windows, there has been a glitch in SHRM land. There's been a glitch in the exam where a number of people have had provisional fails only to find out that 2 to 4 to 6 weeks later that they actually passed the exam. Don't pay for a retest. Don't pay for a rescore. Give it time. Right now, at the beginning of the testing window, we will begin to see if there's any of these situations that are occurring. The last, like I said, 2 of the 3 testing windows, we didn't find out that there was a problem until about 6 weeks in. And then we started to hear from some folks that were like, I got a provisional fail, but I just got this email that said, here's my credentials. So exciting, congratulations. And that's when they looked back and found out that for some reason, their provisional pass or the provisional fail was changed to a passing score. What I think happened in those situations is that some test questions were thrown out, and those folks who had a provisional fail but moved to a provisional pass once that test question was removed now are passing the exam. So I would just encourage you to be calm, stay centered if when you take your exam, you don't get the outcome that you were planning for. The most important thing after the exam is to get that document that kind of tells you where you're at. This is one of the reasons that we have the pre-study assessment in ACE the HR exam, because I want you to have a plan. And I will tell you that when you get that document that tells you how you scored the percentile that you're in for these sub-competencies, number 1, it's different for everyone. And number 2, I have seen people who've taken the exam 2 and 3 times have different percentages or fall into different percentiles. So it's not indicative of your worth as an HR pro or as an individual. It is a little bit of luck, a little bit of strategy, and just don't get down on yourself. I can't control and you can't control the test questions that are asked, which is why we prepare to have as broad of a view as possible that is focused on the content that is most likely going to be on the exam. So that answers some questions about weighted scoring and what is a passing score on your SHRM certification exam. The window is open until February 15th. So you will start to see people who have taken the exam sharing their elation or their frustration. Please take that with a grain of salt. This is your experience, your study experience, your HR certification journey, not theirs. So remain calm, take a deep breath, and focus on your personal review. If you're looking for exam support or resources, I have a couple recommendations for you. We have a on-demand training program called ACE the HR exam, and you can take a look at it. It has 140 lessons that are all available online, on demand, at your fingertips, using video, audio, long video, short video, digital flashcards, downloadable resources, everything that you need, including test questions, to pass the exam. AceTheHRExam.com is where you go to be able to pick that up. The subscription right now is $49. It will be increasing to $89 starting January 1. It's a great way for you to be able to get access to on-demand content that's affordable and accessible and is bite-sized content that is focused on learning quickly and thoroughly focusing on building that HR knowledge foundation through repetition. The other program, if you already have something that you're using, like a learning program, maybe that you are indebted to, or your budget is what your budget is we do have a test question bank that is available to you and accessible for $75, and it's called HR Practice Test. And you can head on over to www.hrpracticetest.com. This practice test has over 1,100 test questions. They are organized by topic, which is how our course is structured. And we also have situational judgment test questions, which are a part of the SHRM exam. You're going to have knowledge-based questions and also situational judgment test questions. You want to make sure that you're familiar with how those work, the structure of them, your plan and strategy to move forward, which is why you practice situational judgment test questions as well as knowledge test questions. These are as close to the exam that I can get as possible. These are test questions that me and my team have written. I have reviewed them all. I make sure that these are high-level content. It is real-world content that you would have happen in your workplace. In fact, many of the situational judgment test questions are based on my own personal experience or students and even colleagues own personal experience that I have taken as inspiration and made them into a situational judgment test question. The key for this is I don't just want you to remember the information and learn the information. I want you to be able to apply and think through the information in real world scenarios versus living and working in a land that is not reality or is very black and white, because that's not how we work in. So those are some insights to talk to you about how to prep for the exam. I would encourage you, if you're in your last few weeks before your exam, that you are reviewing materials every other day, meaning test questions every other day, at least 50, which is why we have our program structured the way it is, so that you can take a look at those test questions, review them, make a note of what you've missed, and then go back and figure out where the gap is in knowledge, review that information for 2 or 3 days before you move into the next set of test questions. This should happen 2 to 3 times a week to really help you assess and understand and work through these test questions. Because once you get into the exam environment, whether it's remote or in person, you're going to have stress and anxiety. It's real. I want to make sure that you have a process and system, a safe space, a safe process that you've worked out to come back to when the going gets a little chaotic, right? Because it's going to, because a lot maybe for you is on the line for this certification. I want to say before I close here that I get it. I am certified with SHRM and HRCI and have been certified for over 20 years with HRCI. HR certification is transformational experience for your career. It's really important to gain that knowledge so that you can use this and pull from it in your everyday life as an HR professional, whether you're just getting started in your career or wanting to gain that additional credibility to take things the next step forward. HR certification can increase your salary by as much as $15,000 per year. If you're booked and scheduled for the exam, I don't have to tell you these things. You already know. I just want to tell you to take a deep breath, trust your gut, and do your best. Make time for studying and preparation between now and whenever your exam date as much as possible, but also make time for you. My name's Jess. I'm the founder of ACE the HR Exam. I help HR pros ace their HR certification exam. You can learn more about our program at www.acethehrexam.com. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be thinking of you as you are coming up to your HR exam date for this particular testing window. Let me know how I can support you. Head on over to ACE the HR Exam or send me a note or a comment here, and I'm happy to answer any questions and support you and in any way to help you ace your HR